Alright guys, come in here and sit down, the bell rang. For those of you who don't already know me, I'm Coach Stats, your junior English teacher. Guys, be quiet when I'm talking, would you? Most of the football guys in this class already know me pretty well, so we've been out there on that practice field together all summer. I used to teach in Lawton, but my wife and I wanted to move to a smaller town, so that's how I got here. Now today we're not going to do any work, but I've got 3 things I want to talk to you about. Now guys, when I give tests, they are really long, and I'm only going to give you the class period to take them. And yeah, I give open book tests, but if you don't read the material, you're not going to be able to find the answers in time. If you want to pass the test and my class, you're going to have to learn to read. You have to do it on the ACT and EOIs anyway. Guys, this is American literature. We're going to read us some literature in here. Now my tests are liable to be about 50 questions long, multiple choice with a couple essay questions, but the questions are kind of detailed. They're not just something you're going to know by skimming through the story. You're going to have to learn to read in depth. This is especially true for writers like Bradstreet. Now Anne Bradstreet was a poet in the 1600s, and she was a Puritan. Her work was actually published in her lifetime. Now guys, you just don't do that. That's phenomenal. Bradstreet uses a lot of metaphor in her writing, and we're going to talk about that later, because we're going to read a lot of work, which you know you'll actually have to read to pass the test over. What Bradstreet did in her time was uncommon. In fact, when her brother-in-law sent in her work to be published, she actually had to pretend she didn't want it read by the public, because she just didn't do that. And now on to my 3rd point, the Puritans. Guys, the Puritans were phenomenal, okay? They were the first notable American writers. Anne Bradstreet was a Puritan, okay? Jonathan Edwards, he was not a Puritan, but he wrote many sermons that were popular during the Puritan Reform, including Sinners in the Hands of an Angry God, which we're going to read later on. The Crucible by Arthur Miller was set in Salem 1600s, and the characters were a bunch of Puritans. John Winthrop was a Puritan, and his writing were used as a model for developing towns at the time. Anne Hutchinson was a Puritan as well, and her writings were used to influence the religious freedoms and colonies for Puritans. But guys, all you really need to know to pass my class is that we're going to read a lot, and you're going to have to read to pass the test. Anne Bradstreet was a pioneer of American literature and women writers alike. And the Puritans were awesome, guys. They were literary geniuses. I mean, come on, they were the first notable American writers. And you have to read to pass my test.